Tonight on Obscured Reality. Join us for part 2 of our general discussion on UFOs, USOs, and other mysterious events throughout our planet. Sit down, sit back, and relax, and join us on our journey through Obscured Reality.
Welcome to another episode of Obscured Reality. Join your hosts, Mark and Stephanie, as they take you through a journey of the extraordinary, bizarre, and often frightening world of the unknown. Explore topics of the paranormal, UFOs, alien abduction, lost civilizations, mythical monsters, and other unexplained mysteries. Come along with us as we transcend into another dimension of obscured reality.
Well, let's move into USOs real quick. I got a little bit to read, but we'll breeze through this quickly.
Okay.
I want to get to these paintings.
Yeah.
So USOs, unidentified submerged objects. UFO researcher and astronomer Mark D'Antonio describe a ride aboard a nuclear attack submarine in the North Atlantic and the unexpected appearance of a very high-performance object on sonar. Now, if you recall, Stephanie, I mentioned this to you, I believe, last episode. This guy, there's a video. You can go out there and find it. It's a show that was on, I want to say it was on History or Discovery or something. But it was a episode, and this is where I had originally seen this. Anyways, he was on the submarine. He did some contract work for the military in some other field, and these guys, they offered him a ride on the submarine. So they took him out for a little bit because he did work for him. They liked the guy. So he was sitting there, and this is what he's recalling. He said he was sitting there zoning out a little because he became seasick, so he was just chilling out in a chair. Mm-hmm. And he was next to these sonar guys. And all of a sudden, the sonar kid shouts, fast mover, and Mark jolted awake, thinking, what's
torpedo
happening? Yeah, is it a torpedo?
Yeah.
Then the executive officer comes out, and the operator shows him the object's path, and the officer says, how fast is that USO going? So here we see they already have an acronym for it. They know, but they've seen these before, okay? The kid said several hundred knots. Think about knots and equate them to miles per hour. It's not far off. 100 knots isn't far off from 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
This thing's going several hundred knots underwater.
That's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the kid said several hundred knots. Mark starts to lean forward to listen in, and the officer said, can you confirm it? So the kid went to another sonar machine and confirmed it was not a machine anomaly. It was real. Mark thought, wow, that's incredible. So he quotes, when the sonar person said, what do I do with this? The officer said, log it and dog it. In other words, log it and bury it.
Yeah, log it, forget about it.
Yeah. D'Antonio said he was doing some more contract work for the Navy when he spoke to a senior naval person about what he encountered. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about the fast mover program? He replied. The USOs, this is a quote, the USOs are common. They even have a program to classify and log and determine their speed, and it goes into a vault, according to Mark D'Antonio. So those are interesting. When I had seen that show, that was the first time I'd really heard of in depth about USOs. I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting. Makes you wonder, is there any type of sea life that could move that fast? And I doubt it. But the only reason I say that is I've mentioned this fish on the program before. There's that little fish out there. It lives super deep where it's just super dark, and it grew or evolved into this fish that has its own fishing lure.
Oh, the lanternfish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The terrifying thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ugly as hell.
Oh, it's terrifying. That thing from Finding Nemo absolutely tormented me. Yeah.
Think about that fish.
Mm-hmm.
What had to take place for that to be a thing on a fish? Right?
Hundreds of thousands of years of evolution in the
Right.
dark.
So,
Yes.
so is that to say, after hundreds of thousands of years of evolution of humans, that we're going to wind up someday with guns built into our arms? Like
Chainsaw Man. Sorry.
right, Edward Scissorhands.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be funny, but completely serious.
Yeah.
I mean, this fish has a lure that it can swing back or forward in front
And
of
it's
its
a
face.
little light bulb.
Yeah, and
And
it can
just
light
boop,
this.
doop, doop, doop.
Yeah, like wow.
And then have you seen the jaw of teeth on that?
It's nasty. It's
God,
ugly. Yeah.
That fish rivals a couple of those Mortal Kombat characters.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that fish is just amazing. Like it's if you really want to think about things in depth, you kind of look at that thing and you're like, man, how could that thing have really evolved rather than have been designed?
But evolution is design.
It is, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah.
More of a specific design,
yeah.
like someone or something.
A
made
design
the
of
thing
the
and put it
hand. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. It's probably evolution, but it's just so odd,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we'll get into some USOs later on, not today, another show, but we'll move on. I just want to pull out some things. Another thing to mention, UFOs, UAPs, common with these things are mountains. A lot of them seen around mountain ranges.
Yes. I believe we were discussing this yesterday as well.
Yes, and I believe that shale, that type of rock shale, has been attributed with this as well. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I've never seen anything weird I can't explain until I move to where I'm at now, which is closer to the mountains. But forget what I just said. It's been a long time thing. It's been long known that mountains have been associated with these things.
Yeah.
There's reports in this country, other countries, of these things flying into and flying out of mountains.
Yes, there's actually, fun story. One time back, like 2 decades ago, I dated a boy from West Virginia.
A boy?
A boy. Because I was merely a girl 2 decades ago, all of 17. But I dated a boy from West Virginia, and he would actually tell me stories of that, of like how they would see things flying in and out of the hills. So like,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I mentioned, goblins and these little creatures that supposedly live in the mountains. It's all mountains.
Yeah.
The guy, David Paulides, I've mentioned, retired law enforcement detective, really good at what he did. He has missing 411 books and shows.
Yep.
He's looking into the really odd missing person cases in the national park systems. A lot of times, well, mostly all mountains, rock fields, boulder fields, things like that, all having to do with mountains. So,
I mean,
you know,
it's really easy to get lost in mountains. Cave systems are abundant in them. So,
yeah. And you look at Skinwalker Ranch, they're looking at possibility of caves.
That place freaks me out.
Some things going on underground. So, well, let's move on. I really wanted to get to these. We'll probably have to do these kind of quick, but I mean, who knows? So these paintings, these old paintings. I didn't name them all for you because I didn't have time, but I'm going to throw them up on screen for you guys to check out.
I appreciate that.
The first one I want to check out, this one is labeled. This is the Madonna picture with Saint Giovanni. I'm going to pull that up real quick. This is the one where you see the Madonna looking down at the baby and the little child, and she's got her hands together like she's praying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's being pointed out here is in the sky behind her head, right?
The little dot. I see it. Immediately I saw it.
And there's some zoomed in pictures of it you can find online. And it definitely looks like it has some things coming out of it. Now, what else is interesting about that? If you look below that object, just behind her shoulder, you see a man and a dog standing there.
Is that a dog?
In this picture it's hard to tell, but there's some better, if you Google it, there's some better pictures of it, and you can see it's a man and a dog. He's pointing at the object, and the dog's looking up at the object. Kind of trippy. Well,
that is.
Here's some
and it's not
detail.
like it's just like a picture. Like, this is something that someone intentionally painted in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So this Madonna pictured with Saint Giovanni, painted in the 15th century. This was painted in the 15th century. It appears to be a domed metal craft and looks very much like a B-movie flying saucer.
It sure does. Wow.
What's more, on the ground below is a man staring incredulously at the object while his dog barks at it.
And pointing at it, even.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was intentionally painted in there. That's wild.
That's the thing. And who knows what they would have painted back then to describe different things they saw. So, who knows what it really is. It could be anything. But come on. Looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
It's usually a duck.
Right. So, pretty interesting, I think. I've seen this picture for years. I always remember this painting because you can't discount it.
No.
There's something there.
For sure.
And it's, you have a sunset or a sunrise going on. You can see the white sky in the background like it's setting and it's getting dark above it. It's clearly not the sun. It's clearly not the moon.
Yeah.
Like, if they can paint, this guy can paint those people in that detail.
Yeah.
The sun or the moon.
Or even a flock of birds, for that matter.
Exactly.
Would be painted as such.
It would have been depicted correctly. Safe to assume.
Yeah.
So that's that one. Next up, baptism of Christ. Let's see here. The next picture is going to be, should have been the second one I sent you. This looks like a little disc up in the sky with 4 little light rays coming down to some people on the ground. It's kind of like a yellowish orange picture. Okay, I'll throw that up on screen for you now. This image is by Flemish artist Ert de Gelder and named The Baptism of Christ. This image was painted in 1710 and hangs in the Fitzwilliam Museum, Cambridge.
The Baptism of Christ?
Yeah. A UFO-like object is shining beams of light down on John the Baptist and Jesus. Now, it's important to note on this. This was 1710, okay?
Okay.
This is just the way I take this is kind of just of the time, an artist's rendition of Jesus being baptized. Or Christ, right? Jesus.
But why the disc in the sky?
Right.
Why not it be like sun rays parting through the clouds?
Right.
I'm confused. But
yeah. And, I also want to point out, and I could be wrong in this, but it appears to me that that's a very dark, cloudy sky.
Yeah, it does. It does. Okay, but again,
which you hear a lot about with UFO, UAP encounters, different weather changes, things like that. So, yes, this may be an artist rendition and he wanted to throw this UFO, this disc in there, in the picture. That's fine. what made him think of that. It came from something. Why is he putting that in there? Is this, how stories change over time? And, this whole thing with Christ, I mean, they may have been hearing UFO, UAP stories back then, and he was depicting what he's already heard of being seen by people. It's clear that these things were being seen back then. You can't, in my mind, argue that. It's very clear.
Also, this picture looks really dirty. I would like maybe it's the color palette that he chose, but it does look like it could go for some super cleaning, and maybe it would reveal something that is not obvious now. I don't know.
It's interesting nonetheless. Let's get to the next one. The crucifixion should be the third picture. I'll throw it up on the screen right now. So this is one picture that I sent, but it's kind of three pictures in one. So the top half, you see the crucifixion of Jesus. Oh, there you are.
Ooh, I'm back.
You see the crucifixion of Jesus. And to the left of the picture in the sky, you see something. And to the very right of the picture, you see something in the sky. Below the top half, so the bottom half, is kind of a zoomed in version of both of those objects. Now, they were put on opposite sides of the screen from where they were in the picture. But basically, they're both facing the crucifixion in the above picture. What the hell are those? You see the one on the left there, it's got a weird insignia on the object. One or two insignias, actually. One near the front, in front of the person.
It looks like a sparkle.
Jesus.
It looks like two sparkles.
It's hard to tell.
It really is. But also, can we talk about the fact that that dude's head is on absolutely backwards? Because his arms are definitely in front, and he looks like he's sitting Indian style, reaching out, but has a almost exorcist effect on his head, turned all the way around, looking over his shoulder.
It does. Now, on the bottom half, that's the picture you're referring to on the left. Yeah. However, in the original picture
it's
above,
on the right.
That particular object and apparently or possibly person is on the right.
So it's technically looking back at Jesus on the crucifix. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. That looks really odd.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's hard to tell if these things, let's just say they're objects that are flying. If they're both going from left to right, or if that one in question that you mentioned, that's on the right of the crucifix, is heading left to right, or if it is actually facing the crucifix, again, his head turned around. If you look at the three streaks coming off of the rounded part of that object, it would appear that would be the back, and the triangle pointed part in front of him, so to the back of his head, would be the front of this object. So what you said, it looks like he might be a depiction of it turning its head around. But, the thing looks like it's starving. It almost looks unhuman.
Yeah, it looks kind of grotesque.
Yeah, so it's weird. Now, if we take a look at the other object to the right of that zoomed in portion, I mean, that person that's in there looks pretty freaking odd too. I mean, if that's a person.
Yeah, true. Extended limbs for sure. Looks like it's wearing a toga.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's an older gentleman with a round hat on, almost Greek looking.
It does.
But the limbs are just ungodly distended. Now, also, it could just be the artist being lazy. But then again, why would you be lazy on details like that when you've painted this entire thing?
Yeah. There's something else that comes to mind with this. I wonder if maybe this is those two things aren't really objects that anyone's seen. Maybe it's nothing weird, nothing anomalous. Maybe it's just this artist's way of telling a story. Maybe the one on the right of the crucifix has to do with like life coming out of this person dying on the cross, whereas the one on the left coming towards it has to do with new life. Maybe these are renditions of a fertilized egg with life that's going to be coming out. There's possibilities.
I kind of saw it as like the Father, Son, the Holy Ghost, almost in a representation. But I also can't very well see the rest of the picture well enough to say for sure. But that I don't know, because they kind of look like how kids would draw spirits, if you know what I mean. So maybe that's what it is.
I'm also curious of what those insignias are on the object on the left.
Sparkles.
On the bottom, it's the on the bottom half, it's the object on the left. On the actual
it's
photo
the
or painting, it's the one on the right.
I'm going to say sparkles.
I'm curious what those. Yeah, I'm curious what those represent.
If they represent anything, for that matter.
Yeah, they might not. They very well might not. I'm also trying to zoom in and out a little bit of the picture itself, the main painting, and to the right of the crucifix, it appears to me that there may be three tall beings standing there, and the one closest to the crucifix, just under Jesus's left hand. Look at the head on that.
Yeah, it looks like they have halos.
It looks like a skull. If you zoom in a little bit,
wait, what?
It almost looks like a skull.
On the person?
So
the person's
the crucifix, Jesus is facing you, so his left hand is on the right.
Oh.
Just under his left hand and a little bit to the side of his left hand.
I see it. I got it.
Kind of looks like three beings. That one there, if that's what they are, it looks like a skeleton, like a skull.
That's fair.
Whereas on the opposite side, it's very clear those are people.
I would really want to see like the actual like detailed, like, I don't know, HD version of this, because I want to know what this red, yellow, tannish blob is. Because it's clear that there's 4 people on the other side of it, 5 people on the other side. But like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, I don't know. And it almost looks like there's other things in the sky as well.
Yes, definitely.
Hard to tell what those are.
At the ends of the cross. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
So we'll probably maybe do an in-depth show at some point on a lot of these. It'd be interesting. So I guess I should have read this. Or did I? So while you're looking at that picture, the first picture above, so the top half, shows a fresco titled The Crucifixion. And it was painted in 1350. The 2 objects enlarged below with figures inside can be seen in the top left and top right of the fresco. This painting is located above the altar at the Visoki Dekani Monastery in Kosovo, Yugoslavia. So there's a little background for you. 1350 is when that was painted.
Wow, and it survived that long in that country? That is impressive.
Yeah, so it makes you wonder, what were they seeing around 1350 or prior, or what had the longtime rumor of the crucifixion been, at that point in time. So, next picture, kind of greenish picture painting. Let me pull that up for you guys. It looks like 2 ladies in here.
Yes.
And you'll see something at the top right of the painting in a red circle. Let's read. This tapestry, titled the Magnificat, was painted in the 14th century and depicts the life of Mary. A hat-shaped object can be clearly seen in the painting. It's located at the French Basilica Notre Dame in, I'm going to botch this pronunciation, but Beaune, it's Beaune, Beaune, Burgundy.
Okay.
So, not too much detail on this. Like I said, we're not going too much in depth anyways, but just this thing that was painted. What's in question is the red circle, in the sky there, the hat-shaped thing above the hills. Could be anything. I don't know.
I mean, it's clear that, it's in the sky. It's flying. There's definitely not a hat. Like, again, like I said for the last
it's
one.
got the classic disc shape.
Yeah, and like I said last time, like, it just... People painted this intentionally. Yeah. It took them hours to create these masterpieces. Like, they didn't just put things in there. It was like, empty space. Let me just fill that in. Like,
yep, 100%. Well, let's move on to the last picture here.
Okay.
And let's read about this one. Let me throw this picture up for you guys. This painting is by Carlo Crivelli. He lived 1430 to 1495.
This is my favorite one, by the way.
Oh, well, I definitely think it's one of the best out of them.
The line work on it is...
The detail, yeah.
Oof, so pretty.
It's named the Annunciation with Saint Emilius, 1486. It hangs in the National Gallery of London. A bizarre disc-shaped object can be seen shining a pencil beam of light down onto the crown of Mary's head.
Right. Through the wall.
Let's go ahead. I'm going to...
Notedly through the wall.
Well, possibly. Who knows how... I mean, you could say that's way behind the building and it's going through the wall. You could say it's out in front and it's just the way he painted it might appear behind it. However... given that you said through the wall, I'm looking at it. It almost looks like there might be a tiny hole or a window right there.
You're right.
But
yeah.
The light does disappear right there. So yes, through the wall, through the building, through a hole, through a window. And my guess is there's no hole or window there. If you look at the design of that, it's through the wall, like you said. Forget through the wall or not. There's a damn object in the sky.
Yes, and an angel on the ground, and what looks like a
angel on the ground.
Check it out. So the two people in the hallway, zoom in on it. The one on the left has golden wings, and a hat that looks like one that someone would wear for a chariot. This looks like an angel, like. Well,
it makes me wonder what type of costumes they might have had back then. The only reason I'm saying that is it looks like some type of like warrior helmet on there. I see some shoulder pad type things. Like, I'm wondering if that's supposed to depict an angel or just a real person or what.
I don't know, but this whole picture is very wild. We have a UFO beaming a light through the world's smallest hole in a wall onto Mary's head, while an angel gossips outside the window.
Yeah. I definitely, like you said, I like this one the best. Just the detail alone is what I like. But now let's go back to birds and what someone is or is not depicting, like some of those other paintings. I think this painting shows you very well. If you look above that object in the sky, I see what appears to be a bird or a dove, a white dove up there.
I see two.
You tell me these people are so stupid that they can't depict a bird and their birds look like flying discs.
Right.
Give me a break, man.
Yeah.
Enough with that. You know? And you look at the detail in here. So what the hell is that thing? That's not the sun. They're not going to have the sun shining one ray of light down.
Exactly. Again, with the fact that if they could paint something this incredible, there's no reason why this man can't paint sun rays coming through parted clouds. This is a literal yellow disc just bloop, bloop, blooped right in the middle of his beautiful sky. Like, it's almost a detractor away from this incredible piece.
Yeah, I wonder what the chances are of that being depicted as a portal.
Ooh.
Rather than an actual object, if you look at it.
I like that, yeah.
And I'm not saying there's significance to any of this other stuff in here, but I'm looking above Mary on the second story because at first it looked like a mermaid. You zoom in, it's a peacock.
I thought it was a mermaid too. Jesus Christ.
I didn't think it was a mermaid. I thought it looked like, and then I zoomed in. And I'm like,
I thought it was a mermaid tail, and I was like, what? And I zoomed in. I was like, oh my God, it's a bird. Oh.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is there significance to this peacock being up there, kind of looking back and looking down, or is it like the significance? The peacock's just like pooping on Mary.
I feel like it's probably just pooping on Mary. Peacocks were like super common in the Mediterranean as pets, and also as like just wild fowl that roamed around. So I'm assuming that it's a pet of some sort. Then again, I wasn't around for that age. I wasn't there when it was painted. I would love to know the thoughts behind the artist's ideas on this, honestly, because
I'd like to know if there's possibly some significance to anything else in here.
Right.
And the only reason I say that is because I'm noticing a lot of different things that are just randomly placed. No, well, I'm not going to say randomly.
They are very random.
Like the what you said you think is an angel down there. If you look to the left of that person with the wings, you see that stairway going up. And then you see that railing. It almost looks like a kid poking his head around with his arm.
I see that.
Looking out. But then you see two people above that kid, or possibly three people. That one, it looks like a male talking to two females. Who knows? But you see a lot of oddly placed things, at least to me. If you look at the things in the sky above the object, what appears to be a bird and some other things. And it's like, well, what the hell is that stuff? Like, what? I'd like to know the reasoning for placing those things there, and what other meaning these things have.
With randomly placed objects, if you look at the supposed angel in the front of the picture, if you look down and to the right, like basically next to the pole for Mary's doorway, there's those two things on the ground,
like
an apple and a piece of bread. Like this is like an old ancient game of I Spy or something.
Where's Waldo?
But gosh, but as random as it all seems, nothing is more random than a UFO / possible portal shining a beam through.
That might be the only thing that's not random. That might be the only deliberate thing there.
I mean, who knows?
No, I get you.
I mean, clearly it's deliberate because the guy painted a hole into the wall of Mary's home for this light to come in and hit her in the head. So,
well, I'm not saying that's a hole.
It looks like a hole.
I'm just looking at the. It looks like it might be.
I'm just gonna roll with the fact that it's like, I don't know. It has to be.
Yeah. Well, either way, hole or not, it's weird. And I mean, of course, this thing in the sky, it could just be his rendition of saying, "This is God talking to her."
True, but again, why can't we just
doesn't mean anything was seen?
Some clouds. Why is it a light disc? Yeah.
So I mean, you never know with these things. I mean, that could just be his way of saying God's talking to her, because it looks like she's praying, right?
Sure.
So that could make sense. It doesn't mean this is an oddity. It doesn't mean it's something weird and they were seeing portals with lights or UFOs beaming down lights. But then again, it's kind of odd.
Oh, it's definitely odd.
It does. And it does look like it could be some type of disc shape something.
Right.
Probably have to see a better quality version. Can't wait to do some more in-depth shows on those and see a little more in depth if people have studied those or anything, and see if there's anything else that might be pointed out in some of those. Obviously, what I mentioned here are the main things that are being noted in those paintings. So, I don't know, kind of weird.
Definitely weird.
Yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, but I forgot what it was. Don't you hate it when that happens?
It's the age getting to us.
Or a long show.
That too.
Yeah, there was something else I want to bring up, but yeah, I mean, there's lots of different topics. So, Bigfoot. We talked about Bigfoot last time. That's going to be super interesting. I think there's a lot behind that, and it's, I've heard some scientists talk about the possibility of a population of an unknown being of that size living in the wilderness, in the completely secluded wilderness. And their studies from looking into it have found that it would not be possible, to their knowledge. They were basically saying that you would need a much larger population of these things for them to actually survive and stay around, because we're talking about procreation and all that. And you also got to think the amount of food a beast that size is going to require is just, they're not picking berries all day long. So I don't know, but yeah, so those are just some of the topics for tonight. I don't know. What do you think, Stephanie? Any
I'm excited for shows to come and things we can talk about. I know that there was already a unicorn show done, and I'm really sad I missed out on that one.
We can do it again.
I'd be stoked. You don't understand. I love unicorns. I was obsessed with them as a child. To this day, my favorite book series is about unicorns. So, I would be...
My daughter loves unicorns.
It runs in the family. So, if we revisited that'd be great. So, but, I'm just really...
We'll do a second episode on that.
I'm just really excited about things to come. And yeah, like you said, it's probably mostly going to be about UFO, UAPs, USOs, but that's okay. There's so much other random
not
stuff
mostly.
now, but there's a lot of that going on. There's
yeah.
But at the same time, as I brought to the table the other day, the Count of Saint Germain, there's definitely other very obscured things out there that we can touch topics on that don't even have a category to fit in. It just is its own thing. So I'm looking forward to all of it.
Yeah, I want to do. Maybe we'll do another show coming up soon about some personal stories.
Hey, I like it.
I got a few more to put out there, and one of the things I always go for, on our show is facts, evidence, proof, things like that. Common sense, critical thinking, those types of things. You can't just jump to conclusions on things. And, I think I go more into that on some of our personal stories of how something can seem so odd, but there is, or most likely is, a very reasonable explanation. And you got to be careful,
Yeah.
And it's just like these paintings. There could be very reasonable explanations for every single one of those objects in those paintings.
It's very true.
And there might not be.
I have tried
know.
to find logical explanations for a couple of my personal experiences with the obscure and unknown. I do live in a haunted house. I am convinced this place is haunted. It is 100 and almost 30 years old.
130?
Almost 130. It was built in 1895.
Oh, wow. Have you looked for bones?
I will not go in that. Okay, so here's the thing. It's split up into 3 apartments. I used to live downstairs. In the downstairs apartment, I had access to the basement. I went down there one time, and I was like, someone's been murdered down here. And I walked up the stairs, and I have never been back in there. I will literally shove things up against the door. This is going to sound stupid as heck, but whatever. I shove things up against the door so that the ghosts can't get out. I know it's stupid, but
better. Hey, no matter what you think, better
exactly.
safe than sorry.
So now that I'm up here, it's not as creepy because I don't have the stairway to a portal of hell, but there are. Oh no! Look,
it's just funny how you described it.
Okay,
funny.
So the basement is what's called a Michigan basement. It literally is a step above having a dirt floor. I'll go into more detail about its creepiness at another time, but let's just say it's creepy. Mm-hmm. But since moving up here, I have had less weird feelings, but more weird happenings that I've actually caught. Well, one I've caught evidence on. The other one is just, I can't explain away. Cannot.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to tell that story because it's weird. And I have the culprit object in the closet right behind me.
Ah,
Yes, we're. Yeah.
You want to give a teaser and show
Oh
it?
yeah, let me go grab it.
Let's not do much explanation. Oh man, I'm gonna have to fill in while she's gone. This is gonna be weird. We get to see her walking back there, grabbing things. Hopefully, we don't have to cut any of this out. I'm curious. What do you guys think she's gonna pull out there?
No, you can't come in here, Kat.
Oh, I'd love to see the
Yeah.
comments on this. What's she gonna pull out of the closet?
Hey, ow.
Oh
No,
man.
we're not allowed.
Hey guys,
that.
while she's away, obscuredr1@gmail.com. If you have a personal story of your own, something weird, something odd, shoot it over. Put story in the subject so we know what it is. We'll air it. We'll tell your story. If we do live shows in the future, we'll bring you on.
All right.
Possibly.
My cat has an obsession with that room. So
I was just talking to the audience, asking them when we get an audience what they think you're going to pull out of the closet. I already know what's going through my mind. I didn't say it, but
my queerness. No. No. Anyways, half jokes aside, this is my little cursed object.
can you hold it up to the FaceTime one so I can see it?
It is
Okay.
It is a ornament that my parents got me back in the 90s, I'm sure at some point, and it plays a little song. So
In a one horse
exactly.
open
So
sleigh.
it goes through like a cycle of about 3 or 4 different songs, like not just Jingle Bells, but other ones. And
How often has that started playing randomly is where you're going with it.
once. Only, and here's the thing.
Is that
The day I got it from my parents is the day it started playing. Now, as you see, that little switch on the side, it's an on-off
Yeah.
switch. There is...
it was switched
Yeah.
off?
So, well, no, it was switched on. Somehow it got switched on. But here's the thing. It was in a box under a bunch of stuff. My cat was not in the box. And even if she was in the box, her jumping into it, getting out of it, etc., no matter her
Right.
messing around in it, one, I would have heard it. Two, it still wouldn't have turned this thing on. Because it's a physical switch to have to turn it on.
Right.
So I turned it on and I was like, whatever, we're just going to let it play through, see if it stops. It doesn't stop. And it doesn't just turn itself on randomly because it's like motion detector. It's a physical switch.
I mean, my mind goes to a little wiring problem.
but it
in
has
there.
it hasn't done it since.
Yeah.
My thing is, though, I do believe in ghosts very, very, very much, just because of the experiences I've had in this house and also as a child in our house in Portage. But I recently have lost my best friend about 2 years ago. I got this around the time, like right before her 2-year passing. She was obsessed with Yule. She lived in Abu Dhabi, but she was like Scandinavian, so she would always celebrate Yule, not Christmas. And it was just like her favorite thing. She would order a freaking 12-foot like Christmas tree from Norway every year. It was her thing. So I feel like
Interesting.
if there was ever a time where someone had reached across planes of existence from the other side to tell me that things were going to be okay and that they're there with me, I think this was her. I
Put it down right now and don't touch it. And we'll give it 5 seconds and see if
I
it
don't think
plays.
it's like that though. It's not one of
I'd tell you right now, I'm gonna poop my pants if it does.
like you're not the only one. I will be out of this room if it does. I would be out. But
Hey.
I don't think that like I have anything like that would be like intentionally like, ooh, turn the flashlight on if you're with me. I don't think I have anything in this house like that would be interactive. I think that it was just one of those like one time I can't explain it weird things, like when people get calls from their loved ones like as like right after they've passed away and they say like, oh,
Right.
it was just a really empty sounding call. and they sounded really far away.
I'm getting
chills talking about it too. I actually have legit goosebumps. Like I feel like that was that situation for me.
So, our minds are powerful. Our brains are powerful. They can play tricks on us. We can see things that aren't really there. We can imagine that things are happening for a reason when they really aren't. Just depends what's happening. And I'm not saying something did or didn't happen that was mysterious then. He doesn't even know, but it was just odd.
Yes, coincidences.
And it's like, well, there's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot we're learning every day. Like, just heard that there's a possibility we might actually be living in a binary star system, and there's another sun out there. That's another show.
Ooh, I'm excited about that.
I'm gonna have to write that down.
Yes.
I'll talk to you about that offline because this one's long.
Oh man, yeah.
But yeah. So there's lots of different things, and who knows? We're never gonna have the answer to everything. There's always gonna be something new, something weird, something odd until it's not.
Yeah.
And then it'll become normal, and then the next oddity is gonna pop up. Just how it works.
I want the afterlife to not be an oddity.
I want there to be an afterlife, but I don't want the God that's been preached to me my whole life to be the God of that afterlife, because he's not nice.
He really is a very mean God. Yes.
Yeah. Well,
benevolent.
Speaking of God, let's wrap this show up by asking you a question.
Oh, okay.
This has to do with the possibility of aliens, and I'm going to say UFOs because unfortunately a lot of people think aliens when they hear UFO, even though it's just an unidentified object. Could be a balloon, just unidentified.
A Chinese balloon.
So let's talk aliens real quick. I don't understand this, which is why I'm asking you, because maybe you'll have a reasonable answer. And this will come up in other shows, I'm sure. I've heard, especially in the last 5-6 years, because of this whole UAP issue going on, that, the government knows, they know there's life out there. They know it's visiting us, and that's what all this stuff is, and blah, 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 blah. And they don't want to let out that they know because they're afraid of panic and this and that, blah, 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 blah. But one of the things they're worried about is that they think that religiously it's just going to upend everybody. Everyone's going to flip out because of religion and this and that. I don't understand why.
Because the idea of aliens and the possibility of our creation coming from another solar system upends and is the absolute backwards version of their beliefs. Like, everything they believe is God created all within 7 days. He spoke and it was. But
yeah, but if you want to take everything so literally as a lot of people say they do with the Bible, well, then that means exactly that. If there are aliens, that does mean that.
I think that God is an alien, honestly. Like, there's absolutely no way that we would have made it this far without them.
The more and more I've looked into religion and the possibility that we were put here by a God and blah, 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 all that stuff. Not saying it's true or not. I don't know. But the more and more I look at that, the more I question it. And kind of what you just said a minute ago, God is an alien.
But not in the sense that he created us.
Right, but that's also kind of inferring that there's still a God. And whereas when you think of a God, you think of this mystical, all-knowing, all-powerful being, and it might not quite be like that. It could be exactly what people have been rumoring for decades, that we're nothing more than a hybrid, a genetic experiment, if you will. Like, we're looking into cloning, things like that. Maybe we were placed here. Maybe humans...
We're a high school science experiment for an alien race that went probably horribly wrong.
Well, maybe we're not hybrids. Maybe we humans used to live somewhere else in our solar system and saw that planet was dying, and we had the technology there because of different elements and resources to move here. seeing that this was an upcoming planet or a livable planet at the time.
And
anything could get lost in translation.
It's very true. But to go back to what you were saying, it's just it would just completely flip religion on its head. Like everything, like, I don't know, they see God as like this, I say they simply because I am speaking from my observation of the members of the church I attended when I was younger.
Right.
I'm not speaking for all of them. I am no longer part of the church in any way, so I'm just going to state that now. I feel like they almost imagined God as like I want to say almost like an invisible, because he's always everywhere and everything, but can give himself bodily form if need be, obviously, to create said world. However, oh my God, I have like so many thoughts going through my head right now. Like to say like, but aliens are multiple, but God is singular, even though he's in everything at every given point in time. So to say that we are from like aliens, or that in some way they assisted in our creation, would basically be going against like the singular creation that God is, supposedly.
Right.
But also in the Bible it states that God made man in the likes of them. So first red flag.
Yeah, that's always been a huge. We'll have to do a separate religion show maybe, but that right there, creating man in his image, just tells you how imperfect that God is, because people were supposed to be created perfectly.
Yes.
Yet
Here we are.
They sinned, but they were without sin, but they sinned. So if they were created in his image, then he was.
See, they say his
well.
image, like when people quote the Bible, but in a lot of like versions of the Bible, it's God made man in the likes of them. That I remember that so crystal clearly from church. Like, I was a Protestant raised in a Lutheran church, and I distinctly remember being like, "Why does it say them?" And getting in a lot of trouble for it because don't question the scripture. But
don't question authority. You cannot question authority because it's always right.
So
I'm sure you all know where I'm going with that.
So to say like God made man in the likes of them kind of fits my idea that God is a multiple unit not so much entity, but grouping. Like the Bible is a book written by man and of his retelling and count of things that have happened, but there's nothing in the Bible about God himself. It's just about the Old Testament and the laying down of the laws of the land and being visited by a creature that calls himself God, when really it could just be head alien or something.
Hey, I've said it more than once on this show. Harry Potter, take all the Harry Potter books, put them into one big book like the Bible, a bunch of stories, put them in a time release safe.
Yep.
That safe doesn't open for 20,000 years, and 5 years after we put that one book of Harry Potter books in the safe and bury it, a year later, nuclear catastrophe from multiple countries, including us. The majority of humanity dies off, but enough lives safely to be able to procreate, and over the next 20,000 years grows up to a much bigger population again like now, and boom, they find the safe, and boom, it opens up and they see this book. Oh my God, there's a flying metal ball
Snitch.
called a widget or snitch.
Oh man, well, it depends on what ball we're talking about.
Kids flying around on brooms, and Harry Potter's a god.
Oh my God, that would be so funny. They would just be like, we can't find evidence of this book ever existing. And it's like, imagine that.
That'd be the longest running popular story ever, man, next to Bob Lazar. That nobody just knows if it's true or not. But hey, they're gonna open that up and look, and they're gonna go, oh my God, who knows how long ago this was, but this person is a god, and look, he's got a magic ball that
flies.
We don't know what
and
they're
they have
doing
to
with
catch it in a game called Quidditch.
Yeah, so I only mention that because think about it. The Bible seems to be nothing more than stories to me, but there could be truth, there could not be. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
it,
there are some scientific things that have gone on that have been proven throughout the years by scientists, geologists, etc. over in that part of the world that do support some of the happenings from the Bible. However, the core story itself is not as provable as people would like it to be, simply because if you watch the movie Zeitgeist, which available here on YouTube, it breaks down very clearly and very concisely how many different religions over the course of humanity have the exact same core origin story for their savior. It is a story of the sun and the stars. That is strictly what that is. Yeah. Now, other things in the Bible with the plagues and the raining blood and the sulfur coming from the ground and like the lotus, that's all very predictable. Like lotus burrow underground for like 18 years, and then come up and destroy everything in their path. So, and then there is sulfur pockets that during earthquakes have been known to burp up. Like it has been proven. So there are some things, yes, but the core story behind it, no.
I've found over time, mainly in my latter years, it seems a majority of people are followers. They want something to follow. They want something to get behind. They want
to
something
rely on
that they can get. Yeah, but they want something that they can get behind with a bunch of other people, and something that they can get behind where they feel they have some power, some control. They don't want to lead it, but they want to feel like they have a part in leading it, and they want to follow it. And I mean, religion of any kind is one of those biggest things. And
people also fear death and the unknown, and this gives them an answer to that. But at the same time, it also gives them something to mentally hang on to in times of need. So when they can't find it to believe in themselves, they can find it to believe in somebody else who will make it all better.
Which I'm not either,
because if you need that, that's cool. That's what you need. But I mean, I personally can just put my faith in myself to know that I can get it done.
When I became unreligious, let's say, and not that I was religious at the time that I became unreligious, but I was at a different point in thinking. I will honestly tell you, nothing changed for the worse in my life. In fact, I would have to say it probably got a little bit better.
Yes.
Because it was more like an opening of the mind in a way. It's hard to explain, but
no, I totally get it. Yeah.
Rather than being hunkered down on this idea, and if you think about it, if you spend one Sunday a month, one Sunday a week going to church and devoting that day to religion, did you know that every 7 years you have spent 1 year of your life doing that?
Wow.
52
you're
52
right.
weeks
You're right.
in a year,
that
52 days a year, every 7 years, depending how you look at it. Some might say you've wasted a full year of your life that you could have been doing something fun with friends, family, your kids.
There's
and I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's not real, but think about it. And
there's
what really
also
matters.
the community that is built up among religious groups. So
that's a big part
of it.
So I live
very close to basically the largest Amish Mennonite population outside of Pennsylvania.
Ooh, horse and buggies. And then you see these Amish shows on TV, and it's all about the males completely downgrading the female.
Well, let me tell you, the old world Amish, there we go, that I live by. We'll just leave it at that. The women definitely. I feel like even though they may socially not be equal, they definitely rule the roost. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I've
Those guys need it from what I've seen.
Rumspringa, yeah. So, but
Some
like,
of them.
I've gone out there a couple of times with Mom, and we went on a carriage ride, and we were talking to one of the elderly gentlemen of the community who was the guy giving the ride, and we were asking him about the community, about the schools, and like, I really do understand why people cling so hard to their religion and their community that comes along with it, because it's their secondary extended family, and some people really, really need that in life. Like,
Yeah, you don't want to be
I
alone.
Shit, I'm good being alone. Like, whatever. But I have. Yeah.
Well, not you, but I just say you in general.
Yeah, well, I mean,
people.
yeah. Most generally, people need that community. Some of us not so much. But it was really interesting to hear about like their schooling and the fact that they have their own insurance companies. They don't use our insurance because instead of waiting 6 months to get something done, they literally will have a house rebuilt in 6 weeks. 6 weeks, like
Wow.
Like that's insane. Like, say house fire, instead of waiting as long as people we know who had to wait for their house to be rebuilt after a massive fire. The community comes together. They take out loans against themselves. They pay their own banks. It's an incredible little system, and they have the house back up and running within 6 weeks. It's incredible.
It sounds like it's almost the same exact system as we have, just such a smaller community minus a lot of the politics.
I mean, there's still politics because it is,
of course,
as it is. But like, I totally understand why people don't want to leave that religion and that community, because that's pretty cool. Yeah. Like, you don't get that out here in this world for the most part, unless you're in a very cultish, like, grouping of people. So, I mean, I get it, and that's cool. If that works for you, that works for you, but just don't impose it on other people.
That's the thing, Well, you answered the question for me, so that's good. Well, if we do a religious show at some point, we'll probably have to get more into that, because I still need more understanding. I still question it, but this was a long one, much longer than I thought it was going to wind up being. But
we covered a lot of topics. So.
These are all, these are all types of stuff. We'll go in depth more stories and stuff later on. So I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully, you stuck around, people. If you did,
thanks.
Hit that like button, and thank you.
Also, don't forget to
share.
Don't forget to email us your stories as well, so we can read them. We want to hear your stories, whether it be of things of the unknown, whether it be mystical creatures, UAPs, UFOs, USOs, or your own ghost stories. You are more than welcome to send them in.
Yeah. Tell your story. We'll tell it for you. A lot of people, like I always say, this is the time. We're at a turning point with all of these topics where stigma's trying to be reduced, and
as it should be.
If 100%. Still looking at it from a factual manner, but we'll put the story out there for you. Why not? If we wind up in the future starting some live shows once in a while, we'll find a way to take callers maybe. Ooh. And maybe tell your own story. But shoot us an email, obscured1@gmail.com. Type story in the subject line so we know what it is, but just email those only. Any other comments, do that down below. If you like it, if you don't like it, something you want to see, I don't know, let us know. Like, share, subscribe. And on that note, I think we're going to call it a night.
Definitely.
Yeah? Sound good?
It is.
Bedtime.
Absolutely bedtime. Yeah,
for
it
you.
Is. Upwards. It's okay. I'm off tomorrow,
right.
So who cares?
Yeah. All right. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check back with us often for new episodes. Feel free to drop a comment, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Obscured Reality.